Hello everybody and welcome back to Tony Northeastern, and I hope you've all had a great Christmas, because by the time you get this video out it'll probably be after Christmas most likely, and I hope you've all got the presents that you wanted. Maybe some new logos for your layouts, or some new kits, or some actual cards you can scratch build. So the reason why we're here over at Newcastle Station is I heard a comment regarding the entrance into the Fiddle Yard and whereabouts we come off of the main line into the Fiddle Yard. Right, so if I pan the camera around, we can actually see the actual turnout to the Fiddle Yard, which is here. So what I'll do is I'll go to the other side of the baseboarding and get a better idea. Right, so there she is. She's in road number 9. So what happened now is get on the controller and separate her from the coaches, and a diesel would come in from the other end and pull out the coaches so we can retrieve the engine. It's a bit of a fiddle, but I guess why they call them the Fiddle Yards. So here we are back at the bench, and what we're going to be doing is looking at the walls that go between the outside wall and the inside columns, and these are going to be the connecting pieces. So what I'm going to do here is, as you can see, I have notched out where this actually sits on the outer wall, and these two holes here are for some copper wires to go through for the LEDs, which hopefully will get done in this video. So when I've done the same here, and I've left a little bit of a lip here because that's got to fold round the card on the outside. You'll see as we go along. So first things first, we'll glue these together. As you can see, I've made them opposite hands, so you have a right hand and a left hand. Right, now that these are glued together, I'm going to show you how these are going to work. Gluing the outside wall to the inside wall. So this is how it's going to work. As you can see, we have an open piece of card here, and the idea is that this then will just glue these two pieces together, the outside wall and the inside wall. The little fold will just allow to cover up the card on the front, because this has still got to be packed out yet. Now you know where these are going. There's one thing left I've got to do before I glue these into the building. That's to add a concrete plinth. So what I've done here is I've marked up 4mm here and here on both sides, and I've got some card here glued together, 8mm by 4mm thick. So what I'll do is I'll just glue a piece of this to each one of these, and then just paint them in the concrete colour, and hopefully we can then glue them in. that one. That's that one. Because you will see this on the inside of the building. So it only makes sense to do this now, glue them in there. And that forms a concrete lintel. So I've glued the card to the card, and I'm just painting it in the concrete colour that we've used many a times before, matte 240. And then what I'll do is, once it's done, I will lighten it, as I was saying before, using some white matte. And then this will be then ready to glue on. I'm doing both sides because you will see probably both sides, especially when I'm doing some running sessions. And last thing you want to do is see some bits of white card that were missed. I have now glued the middle section, that's the canopy platform, to the two outside walls here and here, and also the two intermediate walls. They have both now been glued, which is this one and this one. They connect the outside wall to the columns, if you like. And also I have added virtually all of the supporting beams for the main roof now. There's still one or two bits I have to do. These two, at least two more concrete lintels to go in here, with two little bits of card with some holes in. That will come clear later on, and as you can see, they're all in along there. I've got to add a support in here, which I completely forgot about, on both ends, that end and this end, which I'll do next. And then we're virtually there for putting the roof on. But there's still one last job before the roof goes on. That's to connect all the LEDs up. So that's what all these little tabs are for. They're going to support the card that holds the LEDs. And once that's done, the next thing is to concentrate on some little bits of detail inside this office. I've already done a little bit more detail on the outside of the office, adding this red fascia all the way around the edge of this building, and on either ends of the building. I just take you back here. So I've added a red fascia there and a red fascia at the other end as well. Just there. So we're almost there. Because once that, so as you can see, I've just painted the ground next to where the building's going to go, and I've also added the terminal block ready for the LEDs. And if you look underneath the office there, which is just lying on the platform, you can see the other end of the plug. There's just enough room for that to sit underneath the office. Right, so we're just putting the building back now. So I'm just lining it up with the ends of the platforms. Then that should just go slip in there easy. Hopefully. A little push on the cables. There we go. Right, so now we can concentrate on putting the copper wire through all of these roof supports. So as you can see, it's going to act like a buzz bar. So when I come to put the LEDs in, I can put, say, the red on the outside one, the green, which is the neutral, on the inside one, and I can paint the copper wires once it's all done. Right, so it looks like I've got a lot of LEDs to fit. So the copper wire I'm using is just the standard 2.5 you find in your home electrical supply. All I've done is I've stripped the outer sheathing back, and you get about 6 cores. So this is going to come in handy for future builds. What I'm doing now is just applying super glue to where the copper goes through the card. Hopefully it'll keep it in place, or actually glue it in place when I'm soldering the LEDs to the copper. And it seems to be working. Listen to this tune. Well, not a very good tune, but yeah, it does seem to be working. And then there were lights. Mind you, there's only 2 of them, but it's the first 2 wired up on this side. And this is how I'm using the wires, as it were. So the far side is the live and the near side's the negative. And it works a treat. So, just another 8 more to go. That's the LEDs fitted, and they're all working. And there's only one thing left to do now, is to paint the copper wires to give them a little bit of a insulation. And here's what it looks like from platform 1. As you can see, you can still see the yellow wooden trusses, if you like, and the concrete beams. And the lighting helps finish that little job off. But there's still one more LED left to do, and that's the one that goes in the office. But before we put the LED into the office, there's some detailing to go into the office. Some office furniture. Something like that, which is in the lost property office. A table and a chair, and maybe a cabinet. So now we have some office furniture just made out of card and some paper. Now the desk here is made out of 3 pieces of card wrapped up in paper. So that'll be 6mm across by 8mm deep. and it's approximately 11 millimeters high. 11 meters high. Sorry, 11 millimeters high. That was 11 meters. God, you never get it in the camera, too big. Sorry, start again. Yeah, so that's 11 millimeters high by 10.5 millimeters across. And the filing cabinet here is the same. It's made from the same block, and then just scribed with a pen. The little chair, you've seen me make these before. The little bookcase is just made out of scrap bits of card with a piece of 1mm card on the top, as you can see, and 2mm card on the bottom, and just little strips of 1mm card by 3mm deep. So it's 3mm deep. So that's 4mm, and same at the top, 4mm. Right, and that's the office furniture. It just requires painting. And here's the furniture painted, just waiting to go into the little office. So I shall now put these items into the office. So that's the office kitted out with furniture and a couple of figures. So the next thing to do is to fit the LED. So now we have light in the little office. That was it. That was the final LED to put in. At the same time, I have painted the copper wire to give it a little bit of insulation, and also I've started to make a little handrail here, made that out of a 0.25 rod. And what I did, I took some basic measurements of where the posts were going to go, and just bent the rod and then glued it together. It's still a bit tacky yet, so once that's dry I can then paint it. So once that's done, the next phase is to work on the centre roof, because it's going to be more complicated than the two other roofs, that one and that one. So the painters have been and kindly painted the handrail for me, which is good of them. But while they were doing that, I progressed with the roof. As you can see, I have made a shelf, if you like, for the main roof to sit on by adding extra card to bring it up to a certain height, which is roughly about 6mm from the top. And it's going to be a flat roof. I think I may have mentioned that earlier. And this is what I've had in mind to go on the top, some sort of skylight like that. So that's what we're going to do next, make the skylight. So I'm just about to start the roof. I've already cut the flat roof section using 1mm card, and I've cut out the centre ready to take the skylight. Now then, I have made a start on the skylight. These are the two sides made out of plastic strip, 1mm by 1.5mm, so that's the 1mm by 1mm square, and this is the actual frame is 1.5 by 1.5. So there's the two sides. So the next thing I want to do is concentrate on the ends. Now the only way I can see to do the ends is to cut out the glass and then make the frame around the glass and then glue it in situ. Now then, cutting that shape out when on a dark background. You can't really see it. So what I've done is I've got a lighter background, a piece of scrap card, and then measured and marked it so you can actually see it. So because of the width of the frame is 15mm, so I need 15mm up from the bottom edge. And I can mark the corner with a pencil and then do the same this side. Mark it right on the edge there. And then find the centre of the glass. The glass should be 34mm wide, so it should be 17mm to the centre. And there we have our 3 points where we can cut to make the glass fit. It's a case of eyeing up the marks either side and then cutting. This will help me when it comes to putting the 2 roof sections on, and it makes it that lot easier as well. So as you can see, I'm slowly building up the framework on the glass because it seems to be easier to do it this way rather than trying to make the frame and then glue the glass inside the frame. So I'm using glue and glaze. I've never used it before on the glaze, and I've used it to fill in little bits and pieces, so we're just going to see how it really works out. And I'm using the polyurethane cement just to glue the edges to the framework, as it were, and then using the glue and glaze to glue it to the glass. I'm using a toothpick to apply the glue. And then what I'll do then, I'll wipe off any excess with a Q-tip. So as you can see, I've glued the framework to the glazing and it don't look too bad. That glue and glaze has worked quite well. There's hardly any marks on it at all, and it did help for making the framework up. I haven't put the glass in the sides yet, and this end is completely finished with the capping truss on the top. And I will be putting an apex support in the middle. I've already made it up actually. There it is. So that bit there will just be glued on the middle. It will just give the glazing some extra support. So we're nearly there. So as you can see, it's fully assembled now, and I've added the glass to the roof, and using that glue and glaze, it's just a case of gluing some strips across and then some strips downwards, and then that'll be finished. Just a case of painting and then putting the last pieces of glass in there once I've done. Right, I've just finished putting the last bit of flashing underneath the glazing there, and let's finish that off now. The glue and glaze, I quite like that glue, it's left hardly any marks. I highly recommend it. Yes, so that's ready. It's taken me all day to do this. I haven't put the glass in these ends yet because I'm going to paint that bit first, and then that's ready to be fitted then onto the roof. Finally, getting back to the roof. I was just gonna paint it dark grey and then sprinkle some ballast on it, but I come up with this idea instead. I did remember when I did the bridge and I used this to represent concrete. Well, I'm going to use this now to represent some sort of asphalt or something on this roof. So what I'm going to do now is just glue this onto here. It's 320 grit, so it's quite fine, but when it's painted I'm hoping it'll look like asphalt, so we'll see. Now that the sandpaper is glued to the roof, I'm just going to paint it, but I'm not going to fully paint it. What I'm going to use this grit weathering mix, what I use on the card for weathering. Just going to lightly dab it around here just to darken it. It gives you this effect, so I quite like that, and I think I might stick with that. As you can see, I'm taking some off to start with. And what I'll do also is I'll probably add some green as well. I like the way you've got different specks of black in with it as well. As you can see, I think I'll leave it at that, and I'll just add a little bit of green. Well, we now have the roof installed and the skylight installed. As you can see, adding the green really finishes it off. Looks like mould and sort of residue. So that finishes that off nicely. So we've done quite a bit this week, what with the LEDs and the office interior. I thought we'd have one more look in there before the roof goes on. The handrail. So we've come a long way this week. Good progress. There's still one or two things to do to this roof. Obviously there's some stone capping going on here, which once it comes up to about 6 mil, they'll probably obscure the view of the skylight a little bit, because the stone capping needs to come up to this height here. So if you can imagine that going all the way around, that would finish that off. So let's have a look from the other side. So this is the view from the other side. Once the overall roof's on, you'll not see that from this side, I wouldn't imagine. Yeah, looks looks alright, that. In one of last week's comments there was a mention about a signal gantry, a 3-road signal gantry, which was hanging off a pillar just around about here somewhere in one of the photographs. Now I have seen it before, but I wasn't particularly going to bother with it because in the photograph it's actually fastened to one of the pillars, and that would mean if I ever have to lift it off it could get damaged. So what I'm thinking of doing is I probably will put it in as a remnant of how the station used to be, but I won't put it on a pillar. I'll probably put it about here and have it fixed to the floor. So if I ever have to lift this building off for any reason, I won't end up damaging the signal gantry. So yes, I probably will put the signal gantry in. I might have to make it as a scratch build. I don't think I can get a northeastern 3-way signal gantry. It'd be ideal to put it here because this is where the roads or the rails actually split into 3 points, if you like. So yeah, I would probably do that. Just have it sitting about here somewhere, opposite where the signal box is going to be. Right, I think that's all from me now. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and we'll see you again next time in the new year. Hope you have a good one, everybody. Thanks again. Bye.